order. 2024 meeting of the Port Line Advisory Board. Do a roll call real quick. I'm here. Steve Anderson's present, Mike Jankowski, Dale, Ross Schotthauer, and Dale Givney. Brian Cleary, is Brian on the air with us tonight?
Not yet.
I'm marking absent. One of our new members, Senator White from the Dayton City Council, is not here tonight. She had a work conflict, as did Tim Combrick. So
do we still have a quorum if Brian's absent?
I
think we do.
We need, what do we need, four?
Four.
Four. And
Yeah.
We got four.
We've got four.
Okay.
So, with that, I'd like to ask everybody to do themselves, silence your cell phones so don't get interrupted. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce one of our new members. It's Mr. Dale Givney. He is our new alternate. He's, I guess he would be replacing you because you became the voting member. And Sandra is not here tonight. Dale, would you like to say a little bit about yourself?
Well, yes, glad to be here on the advisory board. I started flying when I was 16 years old, so that's been a few years ago. I flew helicopters for the police department in Los Angeles for 7 out of my 12 years there, and then I went into corporate aviation. Flew Learjets, Gulfstreams, everything from the G2, 3, 4, the 5, and the 550, and 27 and a half years flying on the Time Warner corporate flight department. So I know a little bit about flying, and I've been all around the world to see airports, so I know which ones worked and which ones didn't.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. Did you know Werner Krempels that worked on the LAPD as a
Certainly.
helicopter pilot?
Certainly.
Dale, thank you and welcome. And now we'll do the pledge of allegiance. The pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3, call for conflicts of interest. Anybody have any to declare? Hope you're aware. We'll move on to item 4, changes to the agenda. Chairman, I have none. Anyone else on the board? Okay. Number 5, we're going to move to first public comment, and I would ask anybody that would like to make a comment, if you would come forward here to this little stand here. The sound pickup is much better, and poor Carrie has to do the meeting minutes every month, and if you're talking from back there, it can be difficult for her to distinguish. So if anybody has a comment they'd like to make, please come forward and identify yourself. Go for it. Okay, that was easy. Item 6, approve minutes of previous meeting. I'd like to make a motion that we approve minutes for the previous
Second.
meeting. Second motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Unanimous. Number 7, staff reports. Corinne, you're up with item A, reports, updates from Ordura.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Corey Sigford with Ardura. The first 3 projects that we've had ongoing are the snow removal building. That one we're closing out, the runway 624 and taxiway B4 or B3 project also closing out, so no ongoing work, just waiting for paperwork to go through. And then the taxiway and pavement maintenance project, we're working on closing that out, getting the final payments out. Oh, you guys will notice we have a new map behind there. So it shows all of the north side development that hasn't been there, all the stand craft and the new hangars, and then a lot of the infill around the D1, 2, 3, and 4 area.
Was taken right in July.
So
Really?
it's
I was gonna
only a few
ask.
weeks old.
It's white line around it is current boundaries of the airport.
Airport property line right now. So taxiway C extension project to runway 624 and the Mauser relocation, the airport and county is expecting a grant here over the next week or so. And that project would start in probably late September. And the only impacts probably to the airport would be shutting off of the approach lighting system between when the beginning of the project and the end of the project. So I think it's 17 days. So it would be hopefully opening back up towards the end of October. It's a mass grading project and it would only just impact the approach lighting system and not really any of the runways the actual physical pavement. Another thing we've been working on is, and then the rest of the taxiway C project, I guess, would be in the following spring, starting in April and ending right before Memorial Day. We'd hope to have it all back open and ready to go again. The other thing we've been working on is the turf landing area, getting a cost estimate and site grading plan. We have not actually completed the cost estimate quite yet. We had a meeting with Gaston and Kim this afternoon and want to refine some of those costs to get it closer to a better estimate. Hope to have that here soon over the next week or so. We also kicked off a runway aircraft rescue and firefighting equipment procurement. It would be to replace the ARF truck that they have now, which is a 2002 truck. So we're starting the equipment procurement process, which means bidding a new truck and then some new ARF ancillary equipment, so turnout gear and pieces and parts that would go onto this ARF truck. Then the other ongoing tasks are wildlife management plan. I think that's at the FAA, hoping for acceptance. And then we worked on an AEGIS survey, which is some stuff that Kim uses. And I just submitted the final link for that. And I think all of the data is in there for her sewer mapping. So that is all I have for updates.
Thank you. Move to item B, update from the airport director.
Absolutely. So we'll probably start with the temporary tower project. We elected to postpone actually setting the cabs on top of the tower structure a couple of weeks ago. That way the contractors could finish up the containers and entirety on the inside. So they're completely like tape mudded, painted, carpet, electrical, everything. So once we set them up there, it's just a plug and play. So those are actually scheduled next Tuesday at 8 a.m. to go up top. So by Tuesday next week, we'll have the full structure up. And then we're on the final roughly week stretch to hook everything up and get the stairs in place with the catwalks and everything to access the two cabs. So we're hoping in the next couple of weeks to have the crews out of the trailer and into the new tower structure. So it's going pretty well. They're turning out fantastic. We're coming in under budget on the whole project. So it's going pretty well. The whole crack seal project that the airport was doing in-house, pretty much all the asphalt surfaces south of 6 and 24 is all complete. We did all the taxi lanes, aprons, ramps, all of the runway 220, everything that wasn't done in that previous year before November. So that's all finished. Crack seal machine's gone home. Now they're working on painting. So the first thing we're going to work on painting is going to be 2 and 20. You're going to likely see a runway closure, night closures. Most of the painting is going to happen at night, just low traffic volume. But we're going to start with 2 and 20. Basically, we're going to enhance all the painting so the whole airport matches. So the type of double edge lines you see on November, the hold shorts, the movement line boundaries, everything you see, part of it is on Delta. We're going to drag that over to Alpha as well. So everything's going to have a double edge line. Everything's going to be enhanced with black paint. Everyone's stripes are going to be repainted. The whole runway 2 and 20 is going to have the black enhancements to really highlight the markings and stuff. So it'll look really nice when they're all finished with that. The final bit of maintenance the guys will probably do this year is going to be replacing I would say about 90% of the sign panels in our signs, just all faded, red, yellow taxiway signs and runway hold shorts and stuff. All those will be slid out. New panels are put in. They'll repaint the actual frames, and the sign structures themselves will look brand new when they put them back together. So we'll likely be doing that towards September. Those panels are supposed to be here. So by the end of the weather season, we'll probably have everything crack sealed, painted, new signs, everything kind of freshened up and looking nice. So other than that, it's just normal daily business type maintenance with mowing and stuff like that, and support other projects. But that's all I really have at this time. I can answer any questions you guys might have.
So kind of an overall question, Gaston. I'm very impressed by the coming in under budget on the tower and what you've done with the containers and that whole deal with the temporary tower with the controllers. I noticed on the news last night, Kootenai County was in the news because apparently because people are drinking less here in the state, there was a underrun of budget, and so Kootenai County is going to have to make up some stuff on their budget. And my question after this lengthy introduction is, on our other projects, the stuff that Corey was talking about, and the stuff that you're talking about, and the tower, I assume that we're all working with revenues for the airport, and that and the airport is managing this well within the scope of what the budget was. I think it would be nice somehow, if what I'm saying is true, to somehow get that information out to the newspaper and the public so that they don't think that we're just a bunch of rich people out here flying airplanes.
Absolutely.
And
That's
toot our own horn a little bit.
absolutely. That I actually had a call from CDA Press. They're going to be out here on Friday doing a ride along, just kind of a general update on that project, all of our future projects, and just really how revenues work at the airport. That's one thing there's not a lot of clarity in. The airport is technically, when it comes to the county as a whole, it's a restricted fund. So airport dollars have to be spent at the airport. They can't be spent anywhere else. All of our revenues generated at the airport stay at the airport. They can't go to fund other departments. It can't leave here.
And likewise, the taxpayers aren't supporting the airport.
Correct. So the airport is 100% what you would say fee self-sustainable. So our lease fees, our fuel flowage, all of our revenues and incomes, our department is 100% self-sustainable. We do not use any taxpayer dollars to fund the airport or any of these projects. So it's a really good, healthy place to be. It allows us to do projects like the tower to increase safety and keep everything looking nice and maintained. So, but absolutely agree. And that's going to be a big part of this article is, really clarifying and explaining in simple terms how do revenues work? Because you hear that there's a deficit downtown or, and then you're like, well, they're buying a new fire engine. How is that happening? So just really clarifying it, making it easy.
So even as a stakeholder, sometimes I get confused about what's going on. It was my assumption that we're self-sustaining, but I think it would just be good to get it out to the general public.
Totally agree. Absolutely.
You probably find a way to spend all the money, but do you ever run it into a budget surplus?
Absolutely. Every year we have. Yeah, we have a pretty good fund balance at the airport, so.
Isn't that where our turf runway is coming from? That's being self-financed?
Yeah, that'll be all financed.
I think the other piece of the argument that gets forgotten is the property tax revenues that are generated for the county from airport properties.
Correct.
That the airport gets no benefit from. It goes directly to Kootenai County and supports.
That would be the one revenue source that would go downtown per se,
Yeah.
would be our property tax
Off the
revenues.
top of your head, do you know what that happens to be right now?
500,000, something like that, at least.
Probably roughly in there, yeah.
I know when I tracked it years ago, it was at least that much, so.
Yeah. With all the new development and the types of hangars that are out here now, it's gotta be pretty close to that.
And it's not just property taxes, it's also fees, built on a new building, the fees,
Oh, yeah.
just for those little T hangars, I think it was 12,000 to Kootenai County Fire and Rescue for the new impact fee. So there are a lot of fees generated by all the construction out here.
Correct. One of the big, obviously at any airport across the nation, you look at what is the economic impact of the airport. It's not just the airport, it's what kind of business does the airport bring to the community.
Right. And the last I heard was in 2019, thing. Numbers were, what, $150 million a year, something?
We're just over $300 million a year. At that time, we had employed over 1,100 people on the airport. All different businesses were probably, with new businesses coming here, getting close to 1,600 people will be employed here. When you really take the 10,000 foot view on that, and you look at a department that is one self-sustainable, two a very low staff. I mean, we only have 12 people on our staff that bring that type of impact to a community. That's pretty huge. It's something to be proud of for sure.
I hope they give you quite a few column inches.
Yeah, right.
I think it's been a while since there's really been anything in the paper about the airport. I think the last thing that we had in material coverage on was all the controversy when Stephen left and Gaston came on board. There'd been a lot of infighting and it showed up in the newspaper. So this will be a good opportunity to come out and let the community know that, hey, things have changed up here. Things are settled down. Things are moving forward. We've got really a very cooperative population at the airport, and it is a real asset to the county. I think that's what's real important to emphasize is it's not, again, just a bunch of guys flying airplanes having fun. This airport brings a lot to Coeur d'Alene that it otherwise would not have. So.
Absolutely.
I think the last article I saw was with regard to the Steven Trap Range and how they're going to deal with that. So is that all a done deal now?
It's, I would say, pending. If the complaint with the FAA has been satisfied with our planning process, and that right now is involving the Idaho Fish and Game purchasing the land from the airport. And then they'll have whatever agreements they have with Coeur d'Alene Skeet and Trap afterwards to maintain them on that property. So that's the current plan. We have a few other plan A, B, C, D on that, just, keep it moving. But that's currently the road we're going down. So in order to use the grant funds that the state is using, they have to do an appraisal on the property and environmental on the property, so these things definitely take some time to get put together.
And one last question. The ARF truck, do we have a ballpark estimate as to what the truck and the equipment and the turnouts and all of that are going to run?
The grant is being written for $500,000, so it's for an Index A truck. Currently, our truck is a Index B, so ours is a 1,500 gallon, 450 pounds of dry chem, big chassis truck. The FAA, and this will, we're looking at, they'll fund 95% of the truck, and then the state will pick up about 2.5%. So our match is only 2.5% on that, our local match. But the FAA will not buy us another Index B truck unless you have airline service with passengers that in an aircraft that require an Index B truck. So right now we're an Index A airport. It was kind of odd that they bought us a B truck to begin with in the early 2000s, but essentially we're getting an Index A, which is kind of like a Type 3 brush truck like you'd see at the North Fire Department, like the big international chassis. Still has the monitors, same amount of dry chem, less water, but the airport does have a tender that we're putting online that's actually going to double our water capacity for ARF. So we are planning to hold on to that truck, but put it in a reserve status. So it definitely helps out with.
You mentioned something about foam or a lack of foam capability last time. That there was a requirement for that?
So yeah, the FAA is moving all the airports into the new F3 AFFF foam. So it's the non-fluorine foam, essentially. They're not requiring it yet. Airports that don't want to switch or don't have the means to switch or don't have the equipment that can be switched. Like currently, our truck is not capable of using the new foam. It doesn't have the right storage tanks. It doesn't have the right mixing orifices. It physically can't use the new foam. It's too old. So we have to stay with the older AFFF, which is fine with the FAA right now. And with the state, everyone knows how we conduct our testing. It's all contained. It's all proper. What we did have to do, basically there's a 10-year shelf life on the foam. That foam has been in there for roughly 10 years. So we're doing a cycle. So we have to pull out the old foam and put in new AFFF, the old style, and send all that to the FAA for our compliance. But like I said, we're gonna have the new Index A truck, which is actually gonna be a little bit nicer. They consider it a QRV, as a quick reaction vehicle. They can move a little bit faster off-road, get to a scene a little bit quicker. They're essentially equipped the exact same way as our truck that we have. So we're in the very early processes. They will purchase the auxiliary equipment for us, so that'll have new SCBAs, it'll have new, like the cordless cutters, spreaders, all the shoring tools, lift bags, all our rescue equipment that's on our truck. Essentially, it's 22 years old at this point, so we're getting all the new updated stuff, all the new power fans for brake cooling and everything, so.
Thank you.
Yes, in the article in the paper this morning, it talked about the FAA grants that were awarded.
Essentially, the data wasn't wrong, but it was only a piece of what was discussed there. That was, so that has to do with our Taxiway Charlie extension project. That project in whole is roughly a $5 million project. That was the $700,000 that's being paid for out of the FAA bill funds, not our entitlement funds or discretionary funds. So essentially, there's different schedules in the project. You'll have the grading, the auxiliary road, the taxiway itself, the signs and lighting. The bill money only pays for like one section of that. So that's where they quoted it was a service road and a piece of a taxiway. It kind of read different. It wasn't the entire scope.
I got the impression, it didn't strike me that it would be new information.
No.
I think it was in the paper.
Yeah, essentially what the meeting was downtown for the airport was us going down and solidifying the hard costs of everything. And before, it was just an estimate when we were starting to apply for the grant. Now it's here's our, we have to refine this, and then the board had to stamp it, that it's the more refined cost.
What's the latest status on Electronics International?
That hangar is nearing completion. The last I heard from them was they were looking at late fall this year, occupied.
Which one is that?
That one would be the furthest hangar to the north and center of the airport. Yeah.
That one? Okay.
Anyone else have anything?
Yes, and we had mentioned future projects. We talked in here one time about a project on the infield, once the BOR wasn't active.
Yeah.
Is there any more thought on that?
So at this point, we're waiting for the FAA to actually shut the VOR down. Every month they tell us it's going to be the first of the next month, and that's been going on for 3 months now. So I've been told it will absolutely be shut down by the end of this year. Once that happens, we can start planning process, interior, see how we're going to access it, what kind of stuff we want to put in there, how can we access the new auxiliary turf runway, how all that ties together. So the key piece is that VOR going away, the safety area around that needs to be gone for us to start to build out the field.
Anyone else? Okay, thanks, Justin. Item 8, Coeur d'Alene Airport Association update. Do we have Walsh?
Our meeting was held last night at Stancraft with a fairly good turnout, a couple new members showing up. We had a presentation by Mike Kincaid, where he gave a presentation on a new Buck Bender Foundation that he's forming. It's an incubator stage, getting all the permitting and logistics done for that. It's going to be, what we can tell, I don't want to speak for Mike too much here, grants for people in aviation, kids coming up the ranks and things like that. So I think he's leaning that way, pilot training type stuff. We're also trying to have a guest speaker at all our meetings forthcoming. So that takes a little while to try and get somebody from the community to come in and speak at every one of our meetings, just to kind of keep it mixed up and more interest of people showing up. So, and we have seen some positive feedback from them. So other than that, that's where we're at. So I think it was pretty good last night.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, moving on. Item 9, business, or one item of business. And I worded this, to make it sound like what it was, really just to put together a little bit of a brain trust, form a subcommittee to identify options for continued development of the north side of the airport. The genesis of this, Gaston and I had a discussion earlier this month about, what do we think we want to see happen? The north side of the airport this area up here. We've already had, some sustained development from Stancraft. Of course, we've got Empire Airlines over here. This is the airport area now with the snow removal building and tower. And here's EI. And we had talked a lot about what we want to do south of 624, which you were talking about doing with the Sinfield. We had a lot of ideas pop out about that, which is good. That's what we want. That's part of what the airport advisory board is here to do. But it seemed to me like, so far with the north side of the airport, there's a lot of opportunities there that we haven't really explored. So I suggested, let's put together a subcommittee. Actually, Jonathan did it. I was going to do it more informally, but he said, you really need to do this inside the subcommittee forum. So what we wanted to do was pull 3 members of the board into this with Gaston, and he's probably going to have some other outside folks, basically to sit down and set up a meeting schedule. And you guys might want to sit down and say, okay, what are some things that we could do up here? And given it, for example, we want to mix of aerospace, we want to mix of hangars, FBOs and whatnot. How do we think that should look or could look in the future? And of course, that will feed into the planning process that Gaston's going to be initiating with the master plan here probably next year. So with that,
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So in the past, there's been discussion about the north side of the airport being reserved for exclusive commercial use. Is that still the case? Or is there going to be some GA stuff that can go in up there?
It's pretty much a clean slate up there. We have to reserve a small postage stamp for a terminal facility because we are a 139 airport. That can move anywhere around here. So there will always be a spot where we're going to build our quote unquote terminal, but the terminal could be a building this size. I mean, it really depends when you look at the type of service that you might have coming into this airport. They're going to operate out of pre-existing facilities. It's not going to have gates and everything else.
So remember airports, I think that was a bit of a contentious point there where they were going to try to put their terminal. So is that terminal going to be?
Right. So right now on our master plan, the terminal shows just east of the EI hangar. Essentially right there just north of
it's right in here.
Right there.
Yeah. So if we have a development opportunity there for something else, that can be moved forward somewhere else. So other than that property is the same as the rest of the property as far as it can be aerospace, aviation, GA, larger businesses, however we want to do it.
So what, are you saying that a terminal could go in an area other than to the north?
It needs to be on the one, so on the 139 surfaces. So essentially West Ramp, Charlie, 64.
Okay.
Down here.
That answers the question.
It was going to be very interesting being off Alpha.
Yeah, that wouldn't work.
But to the point, one thing we talked about was, and this is what got my attention. I'm very happy to have EI here.
What do they do?
Electronics International, they make engine monitors.
Okay.
I had one of my little cup. I think a lot of people use their equipment. But what we wanted to look at was, okay, do we want to let this thing happen, or do we want to take a careful hand going forward to make sure that we have kind of blueprint up there, so when we have more of these aerospace businesses, and we anticipate them wanting to relocate to Coeur d'Alene, we have an idea where we might want to site these, where we might want to site hangars. I know that you had people with the larger jets want to come in here and want to site here, want to have a large hangar, where to go with that, where might be, a spot for another FBO. Really, this subcommittee is just an opportunity to sit down and do some introspection. Nothing that it's going to come up with is going to be obligatory on the airport's part, but it's really to help Gaston and assist with an idea of what the vision should be, for the north end of the airport. Like I said, we really haven't talked about it before. We kind of emphasized everything down here because we're mostly GA guys.
Mm-hmm.
We have an idea what we want to see, for example, new hangars down here with infield, the new turf runway coming in. But that whole north side is like Gaston said, it's a Wild West, it's a blank slate. So let's take a look at what we think might be the best way to approach it, because we will be coming up on this master plan again for an update on it. And this, of course, will probably play into that. So
So Gaston, that area inside the boundary of that white line, up over on the upper left, is apparently farmed. So what's going on with that?
Essentially, when they built the wildlife control fence around most of the airport, they built it inside that perimeter so that farmer could still, the Myers could still farm up in there. So the airport owns further than what our current fence is built at on that side. Yeah. If there was ever a development opportunity, obviously, it's, the airport takes it.
Change of use. Yeah, okay.
Any other? Gaston and I had some ideas as to who we thought would probably best serve on the subcommittee, and Gaston had already talked to Tim Collenberg, and Tim, with Empire being decided, they're certainly expressed an interest in being on the committee, and given his extensive corporate experience, we thought that would be very wise. And two other candidates that we thought might be most appropriate for this would be Ross, if you'd be willing to serve, and Larry. And as I explained to Larry, based on his commercial experience as an airline pilot and familiarity with different airports that he's been in and out of. And Ross, of course, is not only GA, but is a developer himself, and is currently active in that. So we thought probably we would bring more to the table than any other members of the board. Well, I'm certainly open if you don't want to and somebody else would like to.
Seems to me that is a good
Excellent.
logical
Yeah.
selection if
I
they're
agree.
willing to serve.
If they're willing to serve. We already know that Tim is.
Yeah.
Well, somebody want to make a motion?
I make a motion that Ross and
Larry,
Larry serve that
along with
subcommittee.
Kim. Yeah, along with Kim.
And Tim.
Does that work for you, Kim?
Yeah, just need
And I'll second it.
Okay, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. There we go. I'll leave it for you guys to work out with Gaston when we'd like to meet. Initiate your first meeting, and then we'll expect somebody to give us a little bit of a report back on each meeting as to what you might have come up with, because then we have the opportunity as board members to add our input as well. I didn't want to make this just exclusive to the three members of the subcommittee, but being limited to only three people on the subcommittee, that's the way we have to do it. So. Any? And item B, input on agenda items for the next meeting. I will need those by September the 4th. Anybody?
So I'm going to dovetail into what we just discussed, and we had the other subcommittee going for the rewrite of the airport rules and standards. I know you've been really busy lately, so we didn't have anything going on there, but it's like unfinished business for me.
You guys are gonna have a red line very soon. So,
Perfect.
red line version.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've been converting basically all of our notes that we took during that committee into red line.
Yeah, I'm surprised you could read mine. So we'll do the same thing. Because remember what we said is that comes back as a package, red line package, and then we get to review it again,
Exactly.
make comments and send it to wherever it needs to go.
Yeah, because that ultimately has to go to the board, the county commissioners, as a resolution anyway.
Yeah.
Correct.
I know that, Gaston was talking about on the commercial side, that there's a tremendous amount of boilerplate to go through, and that's what's taking the time to do that. Of course, we got the GA side all resolved, the commercial side is the different animals, so more than willing to give him the time he needs to do the job right, so we don't have to deal with it again very soon.
Very soon.
He's good. Okay, anything else?
So,
Okay,
hang on just one minute. So we had a couple of people here the last time from the public that were talking about overflights that were too close, and we were going to consider what we could do as a advisory board. And I don't know that we've even discussed it or done anything about it. I was wondering if that's something that we ought to take up somehow to get to the other stakeholders and see what we can do to minimize conflicts with the public outside the airport.
good point.
Yeah, I have a quick comment on that. I think the way we left it, the suggestion at least was to talk to the tower people and maybe see if they could become proactive in that immediately. Has there been Any discussion with that?
We actually, we're gonna start talking about that over the next week. We have one of the owners of the company here, with us this next week or so. So he has the really cool RV spot on the north side of the airport. Right over here, yeah.
Well, I think that would be a great way to do it. And, you know, if there's some routing that they could set up as kind of standard that would keep traffic away from the high dollar neighborhoods within causing problems.
Exactly. Having the feet on the ground long enough now, we might be able to offer recommendations on preferred routes or different areas or traffic pattern, the way we're running them, or, you know, so we'll be able to see what we can modify to help out.
I think the problem was the change in elevation over there. The change in elevation caused some closer than desirable flights over homes over there. So if you moved it, my comment was, well, you're just gonna move it over somebody else's house. So it you know, but if you move it over somewhere else, then the difference
It's
is
higher elevation.
Yeah,
Like I said, it's an accident of geography.
Yeah.
The way that hill
it
is.
really is.
But I wonder in the last 2 months with the way the weather conditions have been, if it's been as much of an aggravation, given that
Not at all.
a lot of people are not wanting to fly right now, me included.
Yeah, last month we had, I believe, 13 complaints or phone calls to the airport. And mind you, there's probably 6 of those that are the same person,
Same caller.
same caller.
Well,
On the same basis. And,
and they're not here tonight, so.
yeah,
No,
they've been reduced drastically, I would
Yeah.
say. over
I
the
think
last
there was a
couple
real
years.
education for them to understand, and Frank gave an excellent analogy. He said, you can't just put a gate up on Highway 90
No,
because this is a public use airport
yeah.
and you can't limit who comes in here. So,
I'm not sure how effective it is, but I see commonly at airports in areas where I can imagine there are a lot of complaints. There'll be a noise abatement procedure, a voluntary noise abatement procedure on a sign in the run-up area.
Or curfew.
You know, and people, you know, and it's not, I don't think any of it's mandatory, but it's all suggestion, and
Yeah.
perhaps that helps a bit.
Why don't we do this? Because I think let's put this on the agenda for the next meeting. That's going to give Gaston a little time to do some R&R with the tower folks, and perhaps we can craft a similar solution here. That's really not a bad idea. You know, we have a sign up there, please avoid overflying particular areas or below altitude in particular areas.
Yeah.
You know,
Straight out, climb it.
it won't do anything for the itinerant people that come in from other places, but at least it's a good start.
they got to come in, they got to leave.
Yeah,
It seems
that's
like-
true. Yeah, and the leaving is the nosy part.
Yeah.
I think that's what they do down at Sun River. They've got signs down there. So Dale's new and has lots of experience. I wonder if he's got any opening thoughts or comments or things that he's hoping that we can get to.
Well, the only thing I've heard about the airport from people in the community is they're scared to death that commercial operations are gonna start in here. And then the other thing was the noise complaints. And I thought that was kind of strange because you've got all that open space on the north side. I would assume most of the traffic would be put over there, but I don't know how they're running that.
Yeah, our public patterns have always been on the south side and over Hayden, and that's one of the things we want to explore is how would it look if we flip the patterns, you know, keep the 2 and 20 traffic over the airport and then take 6 and 24 north of the airport and be over farmland. I mean, that would eliminate 95% of our complaints instantly, not having it fly over Hayden. Even if the traffic could stay over 95 or to the west, it's literally just the traffic that is over on the east side of 95.
We're going to get to public comment here.
Okay.
Am I ready to move on to that? Public comment, come forward, sir.
Thank you. I'm RT Martin. I'm the air traffic manager. He's the owner. I'm the manager of the tower. This is merely an act of education as far as changing your traffic patterns to utilizing the north side, whether it's limited or no buildings and homes. So as Gaston said, they've always done it this way. We just need to have pilot controller meetings, sit down and discuss with people, walk them through it a few times, and they'll understand then, hey, this is pretty cool, this is easier, it's different, and I'm learning and expanding my abilities. So we're more than happy to come up here during whatever season that we're not here controlling traffic, and while we are here controlling traffic, having pilot meetings and helping set that up. That's all I had to say.
My hat's off to you guys. Your professionalism, your patience, your friendliness. No, seriously, it's a zoo out there sometimes, and I know that you got a lot of things going on, but my experience has been very positive with you guys, especially this year, and so I would like you to know that.
Well, thank you.
Actually, just an updated status report and how things are going with.
Things are going much, much better. The traffic count is, I'm not sure what we actually got counted properly last year versus this year, but we're seeing good numbers of traffic. We're having less and less incidents. The local people are doing fantastic. We're working with the itinerants that come in and out and educating them that you have a tower here and these are the frequencies and this is how you go about getting your clearance and getting your release and so forth. So it's an educational process and it's going really well, I think.
Yes, and some airports, you can probably answer this. Some airports have the tower frequency is the after hours CTAF. How come we can't use 122.8?
No. FAA won't allow it.
They won't allow it, and especially until it's an actual airspace change, where we become a Delta, it's a full-time tower. That's where they can start to entertain that, but basically our frequencies are engineered every year by the FAA. So they're assigned to us after they study all the airspace around us, what everyone else is on. The only thing I could see that would get a little bit confusing would be the airports just north of us. That would be then
Aero Garden or some of them, but
Yeah.
maybe having the same frequency for CTAF. and
Correct.
the
Yeah.
Tower.
Definitely something, I mean, I definitely have seen that, but it would be something I think moving forward once we're full-time ATC facility here and actually Red Delta have a change and everything, so.
It would be helpful because St. Mary's, Kellogg, Pullman are all on the same frequency. and-
Especially when you get up there.
Yeah, so.
That's one thing I'm actually curious, once we get the radios up in our tower and get that elevation, if we're gonna get bleed over from Pullman to the tower. On Unicom, you're just gonna hear it on Unicom, obviously, but I would bet you're gonna start hearing that in the cabin there.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, come on up.
Thanks. My name's Titus Gall. Everybody calls me Stretch.
Don't bump your head on the ceiling.
Yeah, I know. Hey, listen, I have had this company for 20 years. And we have been all up and down the 7 western states. And I'm telling you right now that to have a proactive, supportive airport committee, the staff that Gaston counts on, Gaston, Joe, what a marvelous organization this is. And it's been a pleasure to be here. And we hope we're here for a long time. But it's so refreshing to find an organization and a group of folks that are dedicated to the well-being of the airport. You can't imagine some of the airports that we go into working for CAL FIRE and the U.S. Forest Service all over the place. But it's just a very refreshing, the hospitality, the support, and the parking spot for my RV. The only thing I'd like to see next year is some water out there. I'm just kidding. No, it's been a pleasure to be here.
So where is that parking spot, by the way?
Yeah. We can count the lugs on the wheels on the airplane that go by.
Tomorrow morning I'll wake you up.
Anyway, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? We're still in public comment.
Steve, I'm not a pilot and don't know all the pilot stuff, but just listening to all the guys and the talent that's in here right now, I think it's time for a formal meeting like we once had at the Hagedorn facility and have the Tower Tech guys, you guys, Gaston, all together and invite the airport community again and explain what's going on.
I wholeheartedly agree. You did a great job of running that
So,
meeting.
I think I can start coordinating, getting that set up. I don't know the Tower Tech guys' schedules and everybody else's, but I think it's time.
We don't need it.
Yeah, right. So, I'm out here all the time, and I see what's going on, especially the weekend warrior guys.
Yeah.
It's a little crazy, and I think they just don't know what the new procedures are or can be staying
Yeah.
to the to the west of 95. So I think if we put something together, I think it'd be awesome.
And maybe
Get the
we
word
as
out.
the association can.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Get the word out via, Mike's webpage and then our webpage.
And the news media there too.
And exactly.
And Joe has continued to be very generous with the space over there at Stancraft.
Yeah.
For us to.
Yeah, I think, I'll talk to the powers that be, but we could clear the hangar again and do what we did last time. Yeah, to have it on the facility. So, just an
It's a
idea.
great idea.
Anyone else? Okay. We'll call for adjournment. Anybody want to make a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
All right.
Meeting's adjourned.
47 minutes. How you doing?
Yeah, you're keeping